What happens when America's sweetheart finds herself face-to-face with a confrontation no one saw coming? The day began like any other on Today with Jenna and friends' lighthearted chatter, warm smiles, and the familiar glow of studio lights. But within minutes, that warmth turned to a chill that settled over the room like an approaching storm. Kelly Clarkson, celebrated for her authenticity and infectious energy, had come prepared to share her music, her show, and the passion projects close to her heart. Instead, she walked straight into a live interview that would leave audiences stunned and the production crew scrambling to hold things together. Before we break down the moment that sets social media ablaze, make sure you're subscribed and drop your thoughts in the comments because trust me, you'll have plenty to say after this. Jenna Bush Hager welcomed Kelly onto the bright orange couch with her trademark enthusiasm, but something in the air felt off from the very beginning. Kelly's usual easy laugh and relaxed charm seemed replaced by a quiet tension. Her smile was there, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Kelly, it's so wonderful to have you back," Jenna began warmly. "I know our viewers are excited to hear about your projects. And of course, we have to talk about some of the recent headlines surrounding your personal life." The shift was immediate. Kelly's expression tightened, her polite smile suddenly guarded. "Thank you for having me, Jenna. I'm always happy to talk about my music and my show. That's really where my focus is right now." There was a sharpness in her tone, a boundary being drawn in real time. But Jenna pressed on, either oblivious or unwilling to let go of her script. "Our audience is also curious about your personal journey," Jenna continued. "You've always been so open, and I think people really connect with your authenticity. Can we talk about how you've been handling all the changes lately?" Kelly's jaw clenched almost imperceptibly. "Jenna, I appreciate the interest, but I'd really prefer to focus on my work today. I have exciting projects I'd love to share." It was polite, it was professional, but it was also a warning, and still, Jenna didn't back down. "Of course," Jenna replied, her voice light but insistent. "But your fans care about you, Kelly. They want to know how you're doing personally." Kelly's response came firm, steady, but with unmistakable. "Wait, my fans know how I'm doing because I share what I choose to share. I'm grateful for their support, but there are boundaries, and I hope everyone can respect that." The studio seemed to hold its breath. Camera operators glanced at each other, production assistants shifted nervously. This wasn't the cozy, upbeat interview they'd expected. Jenna, sensing the shift, yet unwilling to retreat, made the mistake that tipped everything over the edge. "I completely understand wanting privacy, Kelly," she said carefully, "but when you've been so open in the past, people feel invested in your story. They want to support you in the hard times, just like they celebrated you in the good times." Kelly's eyes sharpened, her composure cracking for the first time. "Jenna, I've been more than generous, sharing my life with the public. But there's a difference between sharing and being exploited. I came here today to talk about my music, my show, and my work, not to have my personal life dissected for entertainment." The word exploited cut through the air like a blade. Jenna froze for a beat, caught off guard. "That's not what we're doing here," she said quickly, her voice edging toward defensive. "We're just trying to have an honest conversation. Our viewers tune in for authenticity and real moments." "Authenticity," Kelly repeated, her voice steady but brimming with skepticism. "Is that what we're calling it now? Because from where I'm sitting, it feels more like I'm being pushed to talk about things I've already made clear I won't discuss on national television." The confrontation had fully ignited. What began as a friendly chat was now a live standoff, the tension radiating so thickly that even the usual hum of studio activity had gone silent. Jenna inhaled slowly, her face tight as she tried to regain footing. "Kelly, I feel like you're being a little unfair. This is a morning show. We talk about life. We talk about real things. That's what our audience expects." "Unfair?" Kelly's voice rose slightly, the first real flash of anger breaking through. "What's unfair is ignoring someone's boundaries after they've made them clear. I told you I wanted to focus on my work, and instead I've spent 10 minutes defending my right to privacy." The silence that followed was deafening. And then Jenna made the one comment that would push Kelly past the breaking point. "Kelly," she said, her voice tight, "I think you're overreacting." The temperature in the studio seemed to drop instantly. Kelly's eyes widened, her voice cutting through the air with raw intensity. "Did you just tell me I'm overreacting to having my boundaries ignored on live television? And then suggest that the version of me who values privacy isn't the real me?" The room froze. Every camera, every crew member, every single person present knew they were witnessing a moment that would be replayed, debated, and dissected across social media for days to come. This was no longer just an awkward interview. It had morphed into a full-scale confrontation, and everyone in the studio knew they were witnessing something unprecedented. The air was heavy, every breath drawn in silence, every movement charged with unease. Jenna realized instantly that her choice of words had been a misstep, but instead of retreating, she pressed forward, doubling down. "That's not what I meant, and you know it." I'm saying your fans care about you, all of you. They've walked this journey with you through the highs and the lows. They want to stand by you. Don't you dare speak for my fans, Kelly snapped, her media polish stripped away, revealing raw frustration. My fans support me because I've been open about what I choose to share. They don't expect me to spill my soul every time I sit on a couch for an interview, and they certainly don't expect me to be bullied into talking about things I'm not comfortable with. The word bullied cracked through the studio like thunder. Jenna's jaw slackened in shock, her eyes wide. It was a public accusation, sharp and unflinching, and one said, there was no taking it back. Bullied. Jenna's voice tightened, indignation seeping through. Kelly, that's completely out of line. Nobody is bullying you here. This is a conversation between friends, or, at least, I thought it was. Friends, Kelly shot back, her tone now glacial. Friends respect boundaries. Friends don't keep pushing when someone makes it clear they're uncomfortable. And friends definitely don't dismiss someone's concerns as overreacting, when they're simply trying to protect their dignity and their privacy. The interview had gone far past professional territory. What was left now was deeply personal. Two women who had once laughed together on this very couch were now locked in a public battle of willpower, neither prepared to yield. Jenna inhaled, sharply, forcing calm into her voice. Kelly, I think we're both getting a little too heated. Maybe we should take a step back and remember we're professionals here. We're both just trying to do our jobs. Kelly leaned forward, her voice low but edged with steel. You're absolutely right about one thing. We are professionals. And as a professional, I came here with clear expectations about what I was willing to discuss. As a professional, I've redirected this conversation multiple times. And as a professional, I'm telling you right now, if you can't respect the boundaries I've set, then we have a problem. The ultimatum landed like a hammer blow. Everyone in the studio froze, waiting for Jenna's next move. This was the breaking point. Jenna locked eyes with Kelly, her own voice firm, but tinged with defiance. Kelly, with all due respect, you knew what kind of show this was when you agreed to come on Today with Jenna and Friends has never been just a promotional platform. We talk about life, real struggles, real triumphs. That's what sets us apart. Kelly's expression shifted disbelief, then anger, and finally something deeper, something closer to hurt. Her voice trembled with restrained fury. So what you're saying is, unless I parade my personal trauma for your audience's entertainment, I'm not real enough for your show. That's not what I'm saying at all, Jenna started, but Kelly cut her off with a sharp shake of her head. No, Jenna, that's exactly what you're saying. You're saying my music, my television show, my charity work, my professional achievements, none of it matters. None of it is interesting enough unless it's wrapped in pain and struggle. Unless I bleed on this couch for your cameras, I'm not giving you what you want. The accusation landed like a gut punch, leaving the studio drenched in silence. Kelly had, in no uncertain terms, accused Jenna and the show of exploiting suffering for ratings. It was a line few dared to cross on live television, and Kelly had crossed it without hesitation. The studio audience, who had come expecting cheerful banter and laughter, now sat stunned, their smiles wiped away, their eyes glued to the two women locked in battle. Kelly leaned forward, her gaze unrelenting, her voice quieter now, but carrying a dangerous edge. You know what, Jenna, she began, and the weight of her words promised that what came next would change everything. Kelly's voice cut through the silence, low, but carrying an unmistakable edge. Fine. Let me be vulnerable and authentic for you right now. I'm a human being who has endured incredibly difficult experiences, and I've shared those my own terms when I felt ready, when I believed it might help others, but I'm also a professional. I've built my career on talent, discipline, and the ability to connect through my art. The fact that you seem to think none of that is enough, unless it's accompanied by a serving of personal trauma, that is exactly what's broken about this industry. Jenna's face faltered, her practiced poise slipping into something closer to shock. She hadn't expected Kelly to flip the script so decisively, reframing their clash into an indictment of celebrity culture and media exploitation itself. Kelly, that's not fair, Jenna said, but the conviction had drained from her voice. You're making this bigger than what's actually happening here. Am I? Kelly shot back, her eyes blazing. Because from where I'm sitting, this is exactly what's happening here. You've decided that my music, my television, show that employs hundreds, my foundation that supports families, none of that is compelling enough for your audience, unless I also hand over my private grief. And when I refuse, you accuse me of overreacting. You tell me I'm not being real. The words landed like body blows, leaving Jenna scrambling to defend not only her approach, but the very foundation of morning television. Kelly, you're twisting this. Morning shows have always been about connecting with people personally. That's what our viewers expect. Your viewers, Kelly repeated, rising smoothly from her chair. The sudden movement drew audible gasps. She leaned forward, her presence looming over the space. Tell me, Jenna, when you go home tonight, will you discuss your marriage problems on air tomorrow? Will you share your family's struggles? your private heartbreaks? Or is it different for you because you're the one asking the questions instead of answering them? The challenge struck like a physical blow. Jenna opened her mouth, then faltered, nothing coming out. When she finally managed to reply, it was weak, almost whispered. That's different. Different for who? Kelly pressed, stepping closer. Her words cracked like a whip. Different because you get to decide what's off. Different because you keep your struggles private while demanding everyone else put theirs on display for your cameras. Tell me, Jenna, is it only authentic when it's someone else's pain? The studio was frozen, the silence so heavy that the hum of the air conditioning sounded deafening. Camera operators kept filming, but the crew shifted uneasily, as if desperate to intervene, yet powerless to step in. Jenna grasped for composure. Kelly, you came here knowing what kind of show this is. We've never hidden that. Kelly's voice rose for the first time, sharp and ringing across the studio. You're right, I agreed to come here to promote my work, to talk about my projects, to connect with your audience about what I care about professionally. What I did not agree to was being ambushed into discussing personal matters I've made clear are off limits. Ambushed. Jenna's voice cracked under the pressure. Kelly, asking about your personal life isn't an ambush. It's a normal part of these interviews. Normal for who? Kelly demanded, her voice laced with fury. Normal for the host who keeps her own life private. Normal for the producers who profit from other people's pain while shielding their own. Or normal for the guest who's expected to bleed on camera so you can decide if it's authentic enough. Each word slammed down like a gavel, leaving Jenna visibly reeling. Kelly wasn't just rejecting was challenging the very ethics of the format itself. Kelly, you're being incredibly unfair, Jenna said at last, her own voice trembling now. We're not exploiting anyone. We provide a platform. A platform, Kelly repeated, her tone dripping with disdain. No, you provide a stage you control. You set the rules. You decide what's appropriate to dig into while keeping your own life locked away. And when someone dares to draw a line, you brand them as difficult, as fake, as not vulnerable enough. Kelly stepped toward the edge of the set, her body angled as if she might actually walk off. The realization rippled through the crew like a jolt of electricity. Panic flickered across the control booth windows. For the first time all morning, Jenna looked like she might have lost complete control of her own show. No one in the studio seemed to know what to do. Kelly, please don't leave, Jenna said, rising quickly to her feet. Her voice carried a tremor of panic. Let's just take a breath. We can reset. Talk about your music, your show, whatever you want. Kelly stopped mid-stride and turned back. Her tone was calm, but it landed like a final verdict. Jenna, the time to respect what I wanted to discuss was at the start. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. Jenna's eyes darted around the studio, searching for rescue, but the crew stood frozen, unsure whether to keep filming or intervene. I'm sorry if you feel we crossed a line, Jenna said at last, her voice stripped of its earlier authority. That was never the intention. We respect you. We respect your work. Kelly's expression softened briefly, touched with sadness. The road to exploitation is paved with good intentions. I don't believe you set out this morning to dismiss my boundaries, but you did. And the fact that it wasn't deliberate doesn't make it excusable. Kelly, please, Jenna pleaded, stepping toward her. We can fix this. Start fresh. Talk about whatever you like. Kelly shook her head. No, Jenna, we can't. The damage is done. I told you clearly what I was and wasn't comfortable discussing. Instead of honoring that, you questioned my motives, dismissed my concerns, and implied my privacy made me less authentic. There's no starting over from that. The audience sat in stiff silence, shifting uncomfortably in their seats. This was not the breezy, lighthearted morning television they had expected. Kelly turned again, toward the exit, but Jenna's voice chased after her, desperate. Kelly, you're being unreasonable. This is how these interviews work. Everyone knows. You can't come on a talk show and only talk about the things that make you look good. Kelly froze. Slowly, she turned back, her eyes flashing. Make me look good. That's what you think this is about. Protecting my image. Her voice hardened. I'm here to talk about my work, my career, my projects. Choosing not to air out my private life doesn't mean I'm hiding it, means I have boundaries. You're being selective, Jenna snapped, her own frustration finally boiling over. And that's not fair to our audience. They tune in for honest, open conversations. Selective, Kelly repeated, her voice rising, incredulous. Everyone is selective. You're selective about what you share. Your producers are selective. But when I'm selective, suddenly it's dishonest. Inauthentic. That's exactly what you said. That's not, Jenna began. It's exactly what you said. Kelly cut her off, her voice ringing through the studio. You implied I was unreasonable for controlling the conversation. You implied I owed you something painful, something private just to be considered real. Let me tell you what isn't fair, Jenna. Forcing people to choose between their dignity and being branded as difficult. That's not fair to your guests. That's not fair to your audience. The words crashed down with the force of a reckoning. Kelly wasn't just speaking for herself anymore, she was voicing every unspoken resentment of guests cornered into confessions they never wanted to make. I came here as a professional. Kelly continued, steady and unshaken, polite, respectful. I tried to steer this toward my work. You pushed and pushed until we landed here. And this, she gestured to the stunned studio, the silent crew, the restless audience. This is what happens when someone finally says no and means it. If that makes me difficult, then so be it. She turned toward the exit once more. Kelly, wait. Jenna's voice cracked. If you walk out now, it'll look terrible for both of us. Please, let's end on a better note. Kelly stopped, her back to the cameras. When she spoke, her voice was quiet, but carried to every corner of the studio. Jenna, you had plenty of chances to end this on a better note. You could have respected my boundaries, listened, shown me the same professional courtesy you demand for yourself. But you didn't. And that choice, that note was yours, not mine. Without another word, Kelly walked off the set of Today with Jenna and friends. The studio remained frozen, the silence louder than any applause could have been.